everybody. Welcome to another industry event here at the Dell stage on Noman's campus, here at our new facility at NoHo West in Los Angeles. My name is Bo Jansen. I'm the visual effects education lead for the VFX program here at Noman. And all of you watching online, if you're looking for closed captioning, please head over to our Facebook or YouTube page. Before we begin, I want to give a big thank you to our event sponsors, Dell and NVIDIA. Without them, we would not be able to bring you these incredible events for free to the public, including what you're about to see here tonight. Also, big thank you to our co-sponsor, the VES, The Visual Effects Society is a global professional honorary society and the entertainment industry's only organization representing the full spectrum of visual effects practitioners. The VES has over 5,000 members in more than 50 countries who contribute to all areas of entertainment, including film, television, commercials, animation, special venue, games, and new media. And tonight, you're all going to have the special treat of getting an in-depth look into the VFX production behind the hit series Superman and Lois. We're honored to have Andreas Botello, the founder of Boxel Studio, as well as the Senior VFX CG Supervisor Weverton Alves, who's head of Boxel Studio Vancouver. They'll be with us this evening. They'll be sharing insights into the cutting-edge techniques and workflows behind the show's stunning visual effects and animation. They'll also be revealing some never-before-seen behind-the-scenes sequences and discussing how Boxel integrates Foundry tools like Mari, Modo, and Nuke into their VFX pipeline to streamline production. Also, don't forget you'll have a chance to ask questions during the Q&A at the end of the presentation here, so keep those questions in mind. You can bring those up later. Now, everyone, please join us in welcoming to the stage our presenter for the evening, Wev Alves and Andreas Botello.
Hello, hello. How are you guys? Good? Perfect. Hey. Okay, because I'm very nervous. I'm kidding. Please stop me, Web. I talk too much, guys. So I don't want to start this presentation, and I want it to be very informal. I really don't want to start this before being grateful for the team that is behind this amazing show, Superman and Lois. It's been a joy working with one of the best senior visual effects producers that I have had the privilege of working with the last years, which is Matt Gore, and his amazing team, Jennifer Coe, Joe Anaya, Rebecca Piñon. I think this would not be possible without their leadership and the vision that they have in order to really confront this challenging endeavor, and you'll see what I mean about that. Additionally for that, Superman and Lois, I consider it to be a unicorn. The team in general, from the line producer, stunt coordinator, the actors, everybody on the team just makes you feel like you're part of the family. It's a very collaborative process where you're not get told to do something. You're asked, how can we do this better? And of course, the amazing showrunners, Todd Hilving and Brent Fletcher, from the get-go, when we started working with them, it's a really creative, collaborative process, and I think what I want to say with this, when you have a showrunner that tells you, this is the mandate, let's work for the fans, think like a fan, because we're delivering this for the hardcore fans of the show. And when you're immediately on that room, particles, fire, ignite, forget about Houdini particles and dynamics, it's real human particles and emotion coming in the room, and all working together to really push the envelope. And you'll see what I mean about that as I progress in this presentation. My part of the talk, it's going to give you a little bit of context of the challenges and endeavors that go on Superman and Lois. Again, I know that this is not a commercial, but I'm here. So do watch the season finale, October 17. It's going to be an amazing 2-hour show. So definitely.
And everything that we are doing is based on season 3, so it's a good warm-up for you guys to go there and check it out season 4
correct.
as well.
What you're going to see on stage is all season 3 work, but this October 17, you're going to see the work that was done on season 4. And you'll see, I'll give you context about what we're talking about. So Superman and Lois, I'm going to give you like foundation. Superman and Lois, you may or may not know that there's different levels of production. You have broadcast productions, streaming productions, and feature level productions. To give you perspective, broadcast schedule, we are on a show like Superman and Lois, at least Boxel's workload, it's roughly around 100 to 150 shots per episode, the average, not a hero episode like maybe a season finale, and we have a schedule of no more than 4 weeks to deliver an episode. just to give you context of the schedules that we have to work. Not many people know this, and the fans should not know this, right? You should not care how much time did it took to create a visual effect. You should just stay within the story. So this is a show that requires everything. We have custom tools at Boxel to do previs. We match the set 0 to 0, and we have to do environments. We have to swap actors by digi-doubles, and we have to extend volcano and lava. Just to give you, again, perspective, from when we get a lock or a soft lock of the episode, turnover and final delivery, we have about 80 volcano shots for a sequence, and we have about 12 days to execute the 80-something shots. This is a show that it's a superhero show, so it requires a lot of geo-tracking, camera tracking, CG environments, laser visions, effects, you name it. And you're seeing one shot of a sequence of shots. We have to model, rig, and animate characters. Not everything, it's motion capture. What you're seeing here is hand animated by our amazing team of animators at the studio. And then from there, just replicate the shots of steel in different sequences. So steel in this show appears in basically every episode. And most of these episodes require a lot of explosions, Houdini simulations. So you can start seeing the amount of scope that a small broadcast superhero show has. And a lot of hyper-realistic digi-doubles. The actors here do an amazing performance. It's just it's a pleasure working with plates of these actors. They're just amazing. They really get into character. And here we just help them a little bit. We just push the envelope by extending some of those motions for the body of Superman getting in front of from horizontal to vertical and doing those animations. Again, this is the actor just giving the momentum for the shot. But what you're seeing down on this shot, this is actually a sequence that it's stitched together from multiple shots to actually make it work. And then we do a lot of DG handoff that we call. Again, the actor does a lot. They do a lot of really cool performance. They get pulled with cables, but then to give a little bit more extra hump and dynamic to the actual shot, we do additional animation on the DG. And hopefully when you see the show, you don't notice it. Again, shout out to Todd Hilving that we were going to say that we're going to graduate when we didn't get a note, it looks too DG.
Yeah.
Because that's content fight of, and he's really pushing always the envelope. Guys, how do we make it look more integrated? And again, that goes into our DNA. And of course, this is a show that requires everything, look development, portals, you name it. And then for a great hero comes a great villain. Season 3, Doomsday, we are privileged to have been trusted in this huge challenge of designing Doomsday from the beginning. So the team designed, and Web will go more in depth on that. But again, of course, now that we created Doomsday, we wanted more. And this is, to be honest, this is the team together. It's like, I cannot blame the showrunners that more Doomsday was the whole team that wanted more Doomsday. On season finale of season 3, we did the math, and 6 minutes of the episodes are non-dialogue, a fight sequence between Doomsday and Superman. And this is a pipeline that this crazy person that it's on my side comes from other bigger facilities, and we were trying to incorporate the typical feature pipeline into a broadcast show. So you're talking about a creature that has muscle systems in Houdini, that has skin displacement, smoke simulations, everything. And what I'm going to show you, and we were privileged to be supported by the production to actually have motion capture for this episode. So we were having motion capture, and we were producing this animation at the highest possible level, again, with the time that we had. We're really trying to push the envelope. And you're going to get what I'm going to say at the end. Because of course, it's Superman, it's Doomsday. We end up in a cliffhanger on season 3, where Superman and Doomsday go to the moon and end up at the end about to kill each other. And that's the cliffhanger in season 3. Now, this is kind of giving you an idea of what goes behind a typical day of the visual effects of Superman Lois, and hopefully no one's dying in the process. But very hardworking team. A little bit of more boring stuff, but this is important. It is important for us because we want to be fair. Again, we're not crying nor complaining here. We just want to be fair for the artists that work so hard, the writers that work so hard to make this be successful, the producers that work so hard to get the information across and really organize and orchestrate this massive amount of data going back and forward. And this is really going to give you perspective. We are that show that this is real data coming out from our shot grid system, which is now it's called Flow from Autodesk. It's a shot production management software, where from turnover to final delivery, we had 8 weeks to deliver 151 shots for Superman Lois. This is crazy. I think we broke a record. 151 shots where 105 are lighting and rendering shots, 40 are full CG shots, 104 are character animation, 90 of them have effects like dynamics and explosions, 90 of the 151 are match moved, and we are glad to say that we did deliver on time and nobody died in the process. Yep. However, it was really hard. And why am I telling you this? Because I'm gonna hand it over to Webb. When you don't have time, and we're in a school here where industry, the new era of industry professionals are basically being born. When you don't have time, when you don't have the big budget, what you cannot have is organization, great communication, great leadership. And I think that's what's important about what Webb is going to talk. What we're grateful about Webb is that Webb, it's a senior CG and visual effects supervisor, but understands the whole process. From the asset being built to the asset being rendered for a shot, for the shot being composite, but on top of that, he's on top of the story. And that's what you would see on our DNA of our website. We're storytellers by heart, but image engineers by craft. I'm a true believer that you can have amazing visual effects, but if the story is not connecting, it's worth nothing. So as a professional technician, artist, storyteller, you have to be embedded in the story. You have to care for the shots that you're doing. You really have to care for the show that you're working. So I think that's the way that I would hand it over to Webb. And again, why am I telling you this? Because when you see the visual effects, yes, some of them are not gonna feel like they're there yet. But remember, when you see season 4 and season 3, that most of the effects were delivered in a time frame of no more than 8 weeks for the episode. Versus any other show that you see on streaming or any other show that I have friends working on bigger features, that one compositor has about 3 months to deliver one shot. So that's how different it is. And I think that this really speaks loud to the great producing team of the show and to the great team in general. So with that context, I'll pass it to Webb. I'll switch it because Webb is going to get full nerd on us, and he's going to go behind the scenes. You're going to see a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking here, now he already showed all the cool stuff, and now I'll do just the boring part of the presentation, right? So then I'm feeling that I will have the hard work here to try to keep you guys entertained, you know.
I promise 20 minutes only.
There we go.
7:20 sharp.
You're on time, buddy. Amazing. I don't know if it'll be the same timing, but so yeah, let's dive in. You know, guys, the idea of this is being the school is just to give you guys a little bit more in depth and small in depth in the production and what we did, you know, and we choose like 2 characters to go in deep on that, to see what was the process, what we learned. And during the presentation, I will try to share with you guys stuff that could be really useful for you guys to accelerate your shot production. So I will try to go for these steps. I will try to go to each step, what help us, what we have internally, you know. And one part of the idea is showing, of course, part of the software, how we use them and what's the direction that we are going for. As you saw in the Anders presentation, there is one thing that we really have a very respect in the entire process is people, right? Like we cannot deliver nothing of that without people. That's why we take a good breath, and even for you guys maybe, oh, what are all those names? But the idea is nothing is possible to produce without the first amount, a good amount of people, right? And a good amount of creative people that's really into the process, right? We have Uri, our art director. There is no Doomsday without Uri, Carlos Pico, Mario Yanis, Vince, Hector Hill, and Henrique Sodoval. Those guys are, each one are head of their departments, and they really have to embrace this in a delivery speed that we have to work. The only way that we can make it is not with machines, is not with like technology, is with people. Is people involved in the process and all in the same direction and trying to the same energy and everything flowing in order to deliver the shots, okay? I'm going into it, you guys already saw the intro. Andres talked a little bit about the Boxel. And what we did is designing Doomsday in a broadcast timeline. Right? He already explained to you guys a little bit about the broadcast timeline and the limitations in terms of time. We have something in broadcast that we learn in the hard way is something that convincing process, right? Because they just come up with the idea, but they never know if, hey, this idea, can we really do it? Can we really do it? And this, I think, is very relatable with students as well, because normally when you are a student and you want to do your own shot or design your own creature, can we really do it? Can I really do it? So then it's a convincing process that we can do, we need to do, right? Sometimes it's convince ourselves, sometimes it's convince our clients. And believe me, convince our clients a little bit harder than convince ourselves we can do it, okay? But yes, we can. And then I will jump into the production process in between those two cases that I chose for you guys. Then I will jump in a little bit more in the software stuff, you know, that is a little more like what's the direction that Boxel is going. And you're gonna see what we are going is node-based is the way. There is no other solution for us to keep working and keep improving and delivering more quality and more speed if we don't use a node-based workflow. So I will try to show you guys how we incorporate node-based basically in all the departments that we have at Boxel, okay? And of course, I choose tips to speed up your production shots, and that's why I think I will be more useful. And I think for students that want to produce their own shots and they want to speed up their process. Okay, let's jump in, and I will start the presentation showing to you guys early designs of Doomsday. Part of the process of convincing is try to find out what the client doesn't want. I know that sounds very strange, right? But when we are designing something, what's recommendable to do is try to find what the client doesn't want. So then let's explore visually. Let's brainstorm this. Let's start showing them stuff. So at least we can hear the notes and say, oh, he doesn't like this, he doesn't like this, or he doesn't like that, okay? So let's go from it. Oh, and as we promised, a lot of the material that you are seeing here is never seen before in any other place. So this is very exclusive for you guys. So we start with the mission. We need to design Doomsday for a network, a schedule, right? So then we come up with ideas. What is? There is a context that I don't want to spoil too much, who's not watched the season 3 yet. But there is, in the story, there is a mutation that happens from Bizarro to Doomsday, okay, in the story. So then we start as the normal traditional way, you know, sketches. Yeah, people still do sketch, people still do concept art. That's super useful, and they still be doing. I don't see this going away, never, honestly speaking, because everything needs to be tweaked manually and created, right? So here, our art director, Uri, he really worked hard with the team to really get what the client doesn't want, as I mentioned to you guys. Then we start the process to start showing the client the different directions. And then here we have the concept art working together with the sculpting team. We have two separations in between the sculpting. We have the sculpting for design and we have sculpting for production. I will go a little bit more in detail, but I want to show you guys more behind the scenes stuff, never seen concept before. And then part of the convincing the client is, yes, we can do it. Let's find the design that they like. And then again, we end up in the concept art that more they were like digging, which pieces they were digging more. Then we pass for the, okay, what can we show the client to start convince them that we can make it work? We can really try to propose client different versions, different approaches, keeping at least some sort of base that we got approved. So, and then we start developing on top of this. Just so you guys know, at this point of the process, everything is for concept. Everything is for concept that you are seeing here, right? Like, so we do shaders for concept. We do the texturing super basic for concept ideas, just to try to sell the explorations for the client until he get comfortable. And then we try to identify a couple of the challenges of the process. As you can see, for example, when we see an image like that, you have to think, how are we gonna shoot this? You know what I'm saying? On set, because this creature is super big, right, in terms of scale. So these start affecting other departments, like the cinematographer of this, what type of lens they're gonna choose. On set, we're gonna have a reference on set, or not, we're not gonna have a reference on set. That's why part of the concept is really giving more context to the showrunners, to they digest how this is gonna look. Is this going to work? You know, how are we gonna make that work? And then, again, more the designing of the scale, how we're gonna react. We choose scenes from the previous season and start putting them together to give them more confident, you know, like, it's funny because we are presenting this. When we were preparing the presentation, we were like time traveling for those times, right? Yeah, and then it's always those like, oh man, you remember how tough it was, no? And today was very stressful in the day, but today looking back, like how much energy consumed from us, right? And then we start again playing with scale again, playing with different color palettes, poses, you know, like how is Dumas gonna talk? Is he gonna talk? When he talks, he needs to be the same scale of the actor? You know, like all those challenges came for them to figure out what we're gonna do. And then we put stuff together. I remember like yesterday this presentation to them, and when we finished this presentation to them, they said, yes, we can do it. And then even us internally in Boxel, we turned off the call and everybody was like, ah! You know, like crazy and like, yes, we're gonna make it. They love it, you know, and it was a very intense moment for us. First, as a fans of comics, you know, like we are all good, big fans of superhero and all this stuff, you know, we grow up watching that stuff, right? So then for us was like, damn, we did it, we're gonna make it. Now it's time to really think, right?
Yeah, and if I may, in this moment, is for students and for professionals, as you go out, this is going to be a confidence game. This is going to be prepared, be confident of what you're capable of delivering. But if I give you a tip, when you are working with a showrunner or a writer for a show that you care, not only about your ego, your work. Don't get too precious about your work. Show that you can work as a team to actually portray the vision of the showrunner, of the director. That's number one. And number two, don't get your head down when they say, well, yeah, but can you do a creature? You're not ILM, you're not Framestore, you're not Image Engine, you're no one, right? So you can't. That's what you're going to go up against. You can't, right? And no, you can. You just have to first of all trust, be confident in yourself, and show, as Webb is saying, well, I can show you that I can, and really come up with a plan, right? So that's important as students. Like, don't get your head down and don't get depressed. At the contrary, make that be your fuel.
Yeah, and again, when we were designing this in Boxel, and I am a big part of the process to, even if things are not perfect, move forward. Move forward is very important. For example, I got this part of the process. I asked the artist to show me part of the process. When I was together with them, they were, no, but this is just a sculpting for designing, right? Like there is two ways, right? Like now going a little bit more technical and more like a tip for the students as well. There is two types of workflow. When you are doing one for designing and making sure that's going to work, and another one for production, right? But we were never afraid to push even the model not ready. I asked them, no, let's move forward, you know, like put him in a pose, see if it's going to work, export this for me, let's put this, keep going the concept, but let's show the client, even if not being the final model, but go there and put some basic animation to see if it's going to work. And that's when we did this one here. And then what happens? It was never, this was never the final shader, never final texture. This was the not retopology model. No, not like that. But what that means, this was for us to digest, to help the showrunners to digest how he's going to walk, how he's going to move. He's going to have a lot of saliva because, you know, if you let for VFX people, we're going to put explosions, saliva, blood, you know, like if you're on us, they are in trouble. If they let us, no, do what you want, then they are in trouble because we normally go overboard because we want to see this stuff happening, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like even for you, when you are producing your own shots, your own content, go ahead. Even if the model is not perfect, oh, should I rig that? Rig it. Test it. You know, like do your own animation. Oh, but I'm not animator. No problem. You are just testing it. You are just feeling if it's going to work, right? Because sometimes what happens, a design works really well in the 2D or in the model stage, but when you put to walk, it's not exactly what I was looking for. When you try to framing, oh my God, some characters, even in this character here, we did a lens study about, oh, which lens is better for this guy, you know? And at the end, you're gonna figure out the longer lens, better it looks, but it's a normal thing, you know what I'm saying? That you're gonna figure out during your process, okay? But that's what we like to do, and I like to phrase that there is a difference in between sculpting for design and sculpting for modeling, okay? For production, sorry. And then all our process, when we have this sculptor, we have to go for a process called retopology. We have super talented people in our studio. We have very cool tools in Modo that help us to do the retopology. Sometimes we receive the scan for the actors and then we just do retopology on that. But in some cases, we just do the retopology based on the ZBrush. And it's a very fun process, actually, because you got the sculpted, design sculpted, bring to Modo, do your retopology, send back to ZBrush to reproject the details, you know? So it's a very fun workflow.
And if I may, I'm gonna do a shout out to Greg Brown because we are one of the first studios that really embraced Modo beyond just a modeling tool for product design. We're the first crazy studio to do a full feature animated feature film, El Americano the movie. Go and search the web, El Americano the movie, a little kids parrot animation done in Modo. Are we good? Okay.
Oh, it's alert.
Well,
it's good.
Now I started.
Well, that's good. That makes all of us wake up, right? That's great.
Yeah,
was
that's
a great timing, right?
Cool.
Right. So yeah, check that out. We have super talented artists, well versed in Modo in the studio.
Yeah, but
and we want to make. I want
to because I know that potentially Greg is going to see this. That we're really trusting in this tool. This is an amazing tool, guys. We really, again, we know that there's other tools out there. There are but considered industry standard. However, if you are not playing with Modo as a student, I highly encourage you to use this tool because the learning curve is just so beautiful. It's just an amazing tool. If you're starting to model, really test that tool out.
Test that out for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so now it was time that we got the showrunners more calm, right? They were confident that we can do. Now was the internal part. everybody was like in a mix of confidence and anxious, right? Like, oh, damn it, we need to push this really hard. Awesome. So then I asked the artists to go there and open the production model. When we go to the production model, in this stage, you need to be a little bit less artistic and more technical. You need to be careful. Oops, see why it's not going. You need to be careful with the amount of detail that you put in something, because you have to remember that after you have your polygon density, you still have the textures that go on top, and your polygons cannot be all messed up. They needs to be all in the right flow of it. You have to have all the connections working, the polygons in the right place. And when we start highly detailed in ZBrush, we always need to be careful if the density of the topology as well. So the point to show this here being different than concept scope is just because your mentality needs to change, because you already skip the concept part and now you are going for the production part. So you need to be more, how can I say, a little bit more technical than artists in this part, because you don't want to mess it up too much and you don't want to rely too much in the displacement maps. Displacement maps are maps in between white and black, and they give you values to distort the geometry, right? So, but you need to be careful, because you cannot completely rely on them, because then you'll become very costly in terms of render, but you start losing the controls of the shape just based on texture. Okay, so this is a part of the tip that was mentioned to you guys when we go for each one of these steps. I'm trying to give you a tip, and this is another one there that you need to be careful. Sculpting is great. Displacement maps are great, but be careful, don't over trust them, because they will put you in trouble when you are animating or when you are texturing, right? So then we go to a level that we think that's good enough in terms of production, what the mesh can really hold up to give us, right? What thing can really hold up in terms of details. And then after this, we decide the surface, like how much of the density mesh is gonna hold for the close-up. We go for a stage that's called the mapping of the bitmaps texture. The texture, we're gonna map them in the model, right? So when we map them, we need to be careful with how close we wanna go with the camera, right? So closer you go to the camera, more of those islands you need, because each island of this here will mean for you one map. That means that I can put my camera here close to his face, and his face has two islands. What I mean by island has two types of maps here. So I can put like until 8K, we don't do that, we don't put 8K maps there, but we put two 4K maps. That means that if I put a camera close to his face, I have a density of pixel quality in your textures of a 4K texture there. Okay, so that's why helps you hold up the details that you want to put in the mesh. And that's part of what I explained to you guys, that you cannot rely completely in the displacement maps, because you need to be careful, because if it's distorting too much, whatever you paint will be distorted as well. Okay, so that's another part of the tip as well. Closer you want to go to your model, more of those islands you're gonna need to. Okay, that's another tip in terms of texturing and stuff that you can apply. And now, as you can see, we put a very simple example here of the Mari, and we want to show you guys like the idea of what's the node base that I mentioned to you guys, right? Like the node base is, as you can see, we can create a completely setup here of the maps in terms of node connection, and it's way more clear for the artist if I have a node to give him. Oh, I want this high frequency bump map be more in some area and not in another area. We just grab a mask and we draw the mask, and the bump map will be just in that specific area. And that's why, but imagine I did that and then goes to the client for review. Oh no, the client doesn't like that review. I don't have to go there and find out, oh, which layer I paint my mask? Where is that layer that I paint? Because when you have a graphic editor in your side, and you guys are gonna see even in the other softwares, it's super easy to go there and just unplug that part, and it's working back. So part of the texturing process, we do mostly of our hero characters in Mari, and then we use and try to use the most as we can about the UDIMs in Mari, okay? Then we did a turntable in the daylight. In season 3, we just see the creature at the night, but we have to do a turntable in the daylight just to see all the details that we said, okay, we don't have to hide anything. And that was our selling point to the showrunners, that we don't have to hide anything. We can show in the daylight, and that the resolution will hold up, everything will hold up nicely. All right, so getting moving forward with the part, going forward in the pipeline. So we put together the turntable, we did the look dev, the surface processing. Then another part of the process was going to the effects department. We have one effects department there that was responsible to bring together a muscle system that will make the deformations in the character when he's moving. So then we, as you can see here, we need to create like a muscle system behind him, underneath the topology, and those muscle systems, they will react, deforming the mesh that comes on top of it. Okay, so normally we have one effects department normally taking care of this. We mostly do that in Houdini. And here is more like to exemplify to you guys what's the idea behind here. So every red part that you see here is something that will react with his movement, okay? And then I will just play something simple to you to see the system working. As I mentioned to you, those are very subtle. Those are very, very subtle, but they help to sell the realism of the effect. And again, I want you guys again visit back or remember what Anders told. All of this was in the broadcast schedule, so we have to be really, really fast with our tasks and push to a certain limit. After that limit, we could not move forward because we don't have time. We have very tight deadlines and we need to make it work. And then another pass that we did is like this constant smoking that's coming out of him, you know, that at some point was part of the effect. And during the shot production, the direction was changing a little bit, but most of the idea was really having him smoking coming out of it. Okay, so this was the effects part, you know, and then we end up with a cool shot of just for like for us was like, okay, we set up the pipeline, we did the shot test for the pipeline, everything passes along with effects, composite is working, we have all the masks that we need, all the AOVs that we need, and this is going to work, right?
And if I may, because I also want to be very honest, to the point that I was giving you context about the showrunners and the line producers and the VFX producer. They trust us to come up with a plan. It was unbelievable that we were going to be able to deliver almost 7 minutes of Doomsday sequence for season finale and season 3, but we're in a school, so producing is also a very important part of this industry. For me, producing is being able to organize your task, pick your battles, do yourself a schedule, understand dependencies between teammates and teams in order to pass the ball one to the other. So what was really amazing in this show, we got a call in between season 2 and season 3 from the showrunners and the producers. Guys, this is what we want to do. It's like, wow, I want to do Doomsday. We were the first. And we need you to put a secret team that it's the character. And it was a 5-team team of 5 guys that started working in between season 2 and season 3, just ideating a process and how we were going to do this. So the showrunners were so great that they started writing for the last episode very early on, and they were giving us access to the sequences, so we were actually blocking them out. So being really honest, for the pipeline, for everything that you're seeing here, we were allowed to start working like from episode 3. We were
in the pipeline, right?
In the pipeline.
But even we didn't have the design locked, right?
No, but that was very important because this does not happen regularly. They don't want to. The network or the showrunners don't want to give you a script. They don't want to give you script 15 when they have not finished script 5 or 6. It's difficult for that to happen. But in this case, these guys are visionaries. These guys knew what they wanted to give to the fans. They knew that they wanted to do some action sequences with Doomsday, so they allowed the creative process to happen in parallel. So that's just to be fair, because this is just a lot of work to be done in 8 weeks. 8 weeks was the execution of the actual shots, but we had a little bit more time to develop the creature.
Yeah. Cool, we doing good? Not too boring? We good? We good? We holding up? Okay, awesome. So cool. So moving forward, then the pipeline then. We got our shot test, we got the test in the pipeline working, and then we have to incorporate the motion capture part of it. So then in Boxel, we designed something that our animators, they can receive the data from the motion capture. Normally when you receive the data from the motion capture, it's all baked keyframes, right? Then what we have to do, we do on secondary stage that we transform the rig that we got from the motion capture to an animation-friendly rig. So he can animate on top of the motion capture, and then for some parts, we don't like this part, so delete it and hand animate that part there to fix. And I was there in the shooting of in the stage, and you guys are gonna see still motion capture is really great quality these days, but still there is some fine tunings that you have to do about hands, about details that you have to put in the feet, doing like back and forth, and the scale of the character is really big, right? So the motion capture data that we are getting, doesn't matter what we do, we're never gonna be perfect for him, so we have to edit a lot because of his scale, right? So here, just show you like a little bit of the behind the scene, what the animator have to go there, fix the foot, you know, redo a couple parts of it. And as you can see here, all red behind here, this is all keyframes. Keyframes is when you're telling the computer like, hey, I want you in this frame, you will stop in this position. Move frame, stop in that position. And then you almost like have like a digital stop motion kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to be a little simplified here in the process, just for whoever is curious about like how the digital part works, translate. It's all the same base of the stop motion, but the computer interpolates for you all those frames. So in theory, you don't have to do like stop motion that every single frame you go there, take picture and stuff, and the computer will interpolate for you to help. Doesn't mean that we'll make a better job. It means that we'll just help you to speed up part of the process, okay? So here, a lot of work that has to be done on the feet. We will have a joke in between us there with the animator supervisor, Hector is his name, big shout out for him as well. It's like, hey man, what's going on with the feet, right? Like there is always something wrong with the feet, with the character, and then he always have to, basically all the shots on it, he have to go there and the feet appears, he has to go there and reanimate the feet because it was not holding up at all.
Yeah, and there's a misperception there's a misunderstanding or bad concept that technology is press a button and it's gonna get done. Oh, grab a motion capture suit and magic, and it's not true. At a certain level, you want to art direct, you want to really nitpick some of the shots. So shout out to the animators, they do an amazing job.
Yeah.
Even if there's motion capture, they do a lot of cleanup and they make the shots much more amazing. So like if you're an animator out there, just thank you so much for the hard work that you do.
Yeah. And as you can see here, we even ask them to animate secondaries, and I just want to stop in this frame because I don't know what I did. I think I skipped a frame or something. This is the original topology of a production modeling. If you want to have a look what the production topology looks like. I don't know if you guys remember that I told you you cannot go crazy in the topology when you are sculpting for the production because you cannot have them mess it up. And as you can see here is a nice and dense topology. Why we did that? We did by purpose. This was all planned, okay? We did by purpose because when you apply the displacement maps that I mentioned to you guys, the black to white to see the details, we have a dense topology that will hold up for the quality we need, okay? So just a heads up. But I was talking about animation, right? So the animators here, you see they have some controls in the chest, even to emphasize a little more when he's walking, right? Like to do some sort of secondary jiggle or secondary movement in the character, okay? And then as you can see here, when you are an animator, for who is pursuing more this area here, you have to do a little bit with some graphics there, because these graphics are the representation of the 3D space, but where the keyframes are in their vectors, right? Like X, Y, and Z, and then it represents as a graphic for you, and then you start manipulating them in time to give you the desired effect, okay? So that's basically what we did there. And then we have this secondary that happens here as well, always happen. I always try to bring some extra details, you know, and that's the part that we love that. Another part of the process that we have there at Boxel, we have the lighting department. And the lighting department here, I asked them to put together. And the tip on this one here goes for, don't normally the mistake that when you are starting the business and you are a student is, let's rely in HDR. Let's just put a HDR and it's done, right? Like that. That's the rule number one that you see even there. I just put a HDR and put render and we'll do the job.
Magic.
We definitely don't encourage that in Boxel. Actually, we don't do that at all. We mostly, we do have a dome light for sure, but it's not our main source of lighting. Our main source light is the artist. Is the person that go there and put a light there and has a purpose for the light there. So that is the background. That is the biggest tip for you that's starting and figuring out what is that, you know what I'm saying? Figuring out what's lighting. So lighting is, imagine that you are a photographer and you want to take the best picture possible of that frame. And then you want to go there, use your concepts, your base concepts, your traditional concepts up in between lighting, shadow, shaping. And this is what we're going to be helping this shot really come out. Because when you put in an HDR, maybe it looks good at the first look, but when you start, oh, can I shape a little bit more? You cannot do that with the HDR, because it's a big dome of light, shouting light on the object, and it's very hard to control. So then we normally take the opposite route. Every light has a purpose. Every light, of course, we don't invent the wheel. There is the key light, the backlight, and the fill light. That's the main concept of it, right? So what we do, we work on top of this concept, and what we do, put one key light and one wrap key light. We love this term that. Mario, another shout out for Mario as well, is like, what is a wrap light? What's a wrap light? When you have, sometimes in Boxel we do that a lot as well, you have a sunlight, but the sunlight is harsh and just that nice strong light here. But sometimes you want that fall off in the object, right? So then, believe it or not, some scenes, I know that's impossible in real life, but we do have two sunlights in the scene. You know, so sometimes it's not about doing the reality, no, but we just have just one sun in the sky. Nobody cares, honestly speaking. Nobody cares. They care for what looks good. You know what I'm saying? If it looks good, you can put 5 suns if you want. You know what I'm saying? So that's the rule at Boxel. We compromise everything in order to make it look good.
Correct.
Everything. Yes. Oh, but I need to put 3 suns in this. Like, put 3 suns then, my friend. Don't be afraid.
If I may, sometimes we forget that the art of movie magic. We are telling stories. We want to make the image that conveys the story. And when we get too technical, we start getting artists or professionals that say, well, that's physically correct. That's what the HDR is giving me. Cool. Great. That's not what we want. That's not what the showrunner wants. It doesn't make sense. Let's go back to the Star Wars era and that miniature and that force perspective. That's not correct. Well, we know that's not correct. We're doing it on purpose to make you believe an image, right? So we're in that make-believe industry where we're constructing the image at will. That's the artistry that we are actually. That's what makes us a professional. So it's again, as a tip, as a student, don't rely on what the technology or the computer, oh, that's the HDR. If you rely on what Web is saying, you will not be able to creatively shape your objects, your characters.
Yeah, it will be bland, right, guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, it will be another image that somebody's posting, you know, and saying, yeah, it's cool, you know? If you are going just for cool, good enough. But, you know, remember, our business is for what really stand out, right? Like, what's different this image that makes so much cooler than this image, right? Like, that's our business. We say that we are in the rejection business,
Yes,
right?
we are in the, you're in the no.
Yeah. We
Make a
need to
little-
be trained. You guys need to be trained in the rejection business. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody will say for you, no, that's no. Even if there is no problem, you know what I'm saying? There is no problem. They will always find a problem there for you. And this is part of our, you know, our thing to being like part of the VFX.
And I think that the conclusion for there is that if you know that you're going to put it in front for approval, what you cannot have is control. You have to have control over your image.
Yeah.
So if you're relying on an HDR and then the art director tells you, can we rim here a little bit more? Can we actually give it a little bit more volume just in the jaw? Oh, well, I can't because I only know how to light with an HDR. Well, that you don't have control.
Yeah. Cool. So again, that was another tip for the lighting. That was my passion when I joined the industry. Lighting for me is still my passion. I really bug the lighting guys a lot. That instead of bugging the compers, you know, I admire the compers a lot. We have Henrique Sandoval, big buddy, but I really don't bug him as much. But I bug Mario a lot, our CG supervisor of the lighting. I really bug those guys because I think lighting is, for me, because of my background as well, you know, is really key for me. You know, it's very important.
And we have a rule at the studio at Boxel is because Web gives a lot of heat to the lighting and shading artist, because there's another misconception in studios that it's okay to do like a mediocre job at the lighting and shading stage because VFX and Nuke will fix it.
Yeah, the compositors will fix
the compositors will fix it. And that's horrible to think like that. You want to give the next team the best possible image to work with so they can make it better, not to fix the previous work.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, so
keep that in mind, right?
Keep that in mind. The comp is not there to fix the horrible
we
work.
have some notes in the light here, by the way. No, just kidding. So yeah, that's another dangers of become super. You want to give notes. Awesome. So what I prepared here then, we are almost there, hanging there. I prepared the Nuke script. This is the production Nuke script. You know, this is how the Nuke script was done for the shot specifically. We end up like throwing away the plate and making a full CG shot because we had the full CG environment, and then we want to have the entire control in the shot in terms of focus and what more works. And I think at least when I was a student, many years ago, I would love to see all those scripts. How a script look? Yeah.
1 year ago?
Yeah, it was very true, very good. So then I always want to see those production parts of it, and that's why I thought it was cool to share with you guys how you see the script there. Of course, part of the compositing department is organization, you know what I'm saying? Like when you have compositors that not organized with their files, it's really complicated them to streamline them in the pipeline. You know?
And again, shout out to Juan. Juan is I think now, Juan, you're the boss or something at the Foundry, but when we started using Nuke at the studio quite a while ago, Juan flew to our facility. He trained our staff personally. The Foundry was just, Foundry has been an amazing partner of our studio and our growth, being part of the history of our growth. But what Webb is saying, the first thing that Juan came in to teach the students is, guys, you need to understand if you're going to use this as an industry standard tool, you have to have your script organized, because you're going to hand that out to someone else, and someone else should be able to open up the Nuke script and read it like they're reading like a notation paper of a music sheet. They should be able to just follow it along and then kind of follow up your work. So I think again, shout out for the Foundry for being so supportive, and they were not only interested in selling us licenses, but rather how can we take more advantage of the software they're investing with. So again, thanks so much to Juan.
And part of this, we have to remember one important topic, right? Like, with all the respect with compositors, they are not the lighters, right? So then the work of a compositor is not fixing the light, right? The work of the compositor actually is making that photorealism, right? Like, remember that we have a difference that we are working on, right? The media that we are working is being passed through a camera, right? Like, so there is this optic area that we are We are seeing the image through the lens of the camera. So that's when the compositor really needs to focus to give the impression, that image that he's seeing there, the render, because if you go to the raw render, it looks like a raw render. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't look like that's passing for the camera yet. When this process is going to happen? This process is going to happen here in the comp stage, where the comper start putting together. Like sometimes he uses real fire elements, sometimes he uses real plates, and as you can see here, he start already fine-tuning the light. There is something that we call per light, the AOVs, the elements that we pass to comp in order to combine all this and give him more this photorealism effect per light. So he can control the intensity per light, and he can really blend with the natural light that we have in the plate. So as you can see here now, and I'm scrubbing here, the compositor start matching the blacks, because when you are in a camera, here, when you render in the computer, remember it's all zeros and ones, so the black level is black, it's pure black. The value of the pixel is pure black, but no camera in the world will be able to give you a black pixel, right? Like, because it's impossible them to do a 0, black perfect pixel. So what's going to do? The levels, the black levels will vary per shot as well, because it depends on the illumination of the shot, how it was shot there. So the black levels will be different per shot. So this is another part of the compositor job to really match, to give the impression that's passing through the camera. Remember this as another extra tip for you, that student. You are not doing realism. You are doing photorealism. Because why is photorealism? Because it's passing through the camera. So you need to start to understand a little bit more of the optics of it. What's a lens flare is, why is lens flare, what is a glow is. Like, sometimes, just put a glow that will look good, but you don't know why you are putting the glow there. But there is this diffusion in the lens that helps to give this bloomy effect, and that's why the compositors, they use that to put in the shot.
I think more as the industry has progressed with more technology, something that I do think has happened to us as professionals, we became a little bit lazy in the sense that we're relying a lot of what technology is able to fix in post. And now we come to a phrase in the industry, they'll fix it in post. And then everybody is, from the beginning, very lazy, even on stage. At the stage where you cannot even lift a microphone to, they'll clean it up, right? Well, why add that cleanup of a shot if it's not completely unnecessary? Just let's put more attention. And what Webb is saying right now, I'm starting to hear this, I'm starting to feel, I don't know you guys, but I'm starting to feel that the industry is going to something called VFX fatigue or CG fatigue, specifically on superhero shows where everything looks very CG, everything looks very over in post. And I don't think that it's because it's not needed. I'm a fan of superhero stories. Like, I want to see more superhero stuff. But it's what Webb is saying, is the integration itself that I think we are being a little bit not careful and lazy, and we are not putting attention that the image needs to look like it's passing through the lens of a camera. And we are forgetting about that, and as artists and professionals, we're just basically compositing like it's a Photoshop image, and it looks all not real, not integrated. Yeah. So I think that's what we're feeling because we're doing things, maybe too many things and careless. So I think that's a great tip that Webb is saying. Like, imagine that creature is really here with this lens, and put attention to that so it really feels that it's there. Not that it's real. I think that's the tip that Webb. Yeah. Realism, the creature doesn't exist, so it's not real. You're doing photorealism, meaning that you have to make it believe that it was in the camera. Yeah. That's a difference.
And of course, part of the idea, when you see the final shot, that's why we need to put the details in every single step, right? Like, every single step, the production, we need to push the best of single step of the production to when it goes to the final shot, we can really say, oh, okay, this is not just work of one person. You know what I'm saying? This is not a work. It is unfair. It's really unfair. One person take the credit for this. You know what I'm saying? Because this is not a one person credit. This is a group. And that's why it's part of our mission as well, even for students. And every time that we talk to people that wants to break in is be nice. Be a nice person. You know, be a nice with your colleague, you know, because very soon he will be your co-worker. It's amazing how this industry works, you know, and everybody kind of end up connecting each other soon, one way or another, you know. That's why you have to be nice, because there is no one solution. There is no one person that say, oh, this person is the person that needs all the credit. There's not. This is a group effort, and as you can see, and that part of my time here to you guys is try to explain as better as I could to how the process is important, right? Like how every single part of the process, there is something that you can make better. You make better here, make better here. So then, each step is adding 10%. Each step is adding 10%. And then when you go to the end, to the compositors, the guys are, oh man, nice. I received good stuff to work on. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he doesn't even like use everything, because maybe the shot is not allowed to use. Not every single shot requires an explosion. Unfortunate, you know what I'm saying? That's very unfortunate. But the composer have good elements to work on, right? So that's the idea.
And just to echo what Web was saying, again, behind the scenes info, because I also want to be fair. In season 3, in the climax of production, just Web's team at Superman Lois, and our team was, we reached the peak on that production. Boxel, pre-strikes, we were handling about 17 productions in parallel. Superman Lois being one of them. And Superman Lois, just that production, on the peak climax of the production were 120 team size, 120 artists working on the show in parallel. So that's what I was saying, be nice, play nice. There's a lot of mean people out there already. Don't add to that. Good vibes. We were
good vibes.
Good vibes, because at the end of the, being realistic, it is going to get stressful. It is going to get, sometimes it's going to be tough days, because as Web is saying, that shot is not going to get approved. Not because they hate you as an individual or human being, it's just not getting approved because it's not working in context. So being nice, playing nice as a team, caring for your team member, that's super, super important.
Cool. So this was the entire explanation for one shot, but I choose one case, one extra case that I want to ask you guys a little more patient, just a little stretch, a little bit. I know that we are talking a lot, you know, and it's hard to keep up and stuff, but just hanging there a little bit with us, because we did have one extra character that unfortunately we didn't have much time to develop the way that we want in the screen, you know, but was a very cool shot that I want to share with you guys, was the develop of the transformation. What transformation? We're gonna take the actor and we have to create one in between stage, when he's the normal Doomsday in the series, and then when he becomes the Doomsday, right? Like when he was the normal Bizarro person, and then he becomes the Doomsday Bizarro, and then we have to create this in-between stage, right? And then again, I'm not gonna bug you guys again, showing every single one again, but we went to the same process. We took the art, we took the model, the scan of the artist, and we stopped the actor, and we start working on top of him, giving them this kind of abomination vibe on him, you know. And then we have do some rigging controls for the motion capture. So we find a way to our rigs, when we receive the motion capture data, transfers to the character as well, for the facial expression and everything there to happen. And then we end up with a very cool shot that not many people realize that in the series, you know, like not many people catch that this becomes like, this was becoming a full CG, completely replacing the actor here. So when you see like this, it's like was a super pleasant transformation happening in the screen in a full CG transformation. And when you see the way that they shot him here, and then we have to really completely find a way, because his scale change, his scale change, his skin change, everything changed. And then what we were just capturing was just the facial performance, and still keep the realism, not the realism, remember, the photorealism of it. And then of course we use all the artifacts to make the shot look better, like smoke, fire, close-up, right? Defocus, very shallow depth of field. All these cool comp elements help you guys to get the result that we need, right? Like to help to this photographic vibe on it, you know? And this is one, I personally love this shot, you know, and that's, every time that I go to a presentation, to a background in this scene, this is a shot that almost nobody realized was even like, oh, maybe this was a makeup or something like that, you know, and it was a very challenging as well because of all the skin
and the half hour that you had to deliver the show. I was just joking.
Yeah.
But it was very good delivery.
And again, it was super fun to work in this shot as well, and I thought it was a cool addition for you guys to have a look as well in all the work details. And with that part, I want to show you just one thing here. I rendered one frame of this guy here, and let me see if I'm logging here. I want to show you something. Remember?
Oh man, you're now really got you very enthusiastic. Well, what Webb is trying to do in front of you real time, he's logging into the studio.
Yeah.
This is very dangerous. This is like.
Man, that's why we are in VFX. We are in a dangerous business.
Yeah.
He's
a jumper. He's a jumper. He's going to try.
I just want to try to show something cool. If not possible, it's all good. But I just want to make sure you guys have a look. How we can really manipulate the lighting in Nuke, you know, and it's super simple to make that work. Apologies for that. There you go. So I got the render that I show you guys. That's the render from the production, just to see there is no cheating here, right? So the idea of this, the way that we ask to compers manipulate the shot, is not going crazy on it. It's just, okay, what you don't like, what we need to change. Oh, we need to change the fire light in the back of him, right? Like, okay, so then let's take the fire ring light. That's here, the fire ring light. Oh, but how do we change that? We just said, hey, the way that we render our renders, we just use an operation, a mathematical operation that we can say, hey, just remove from the lighting. So then we just remove it from the lighting, right? So then, with the lighting, without the lighting. Oh, but we need to bring it back, but we need to be a different color, right? So then we just bring it back. Bring it back. Let's plus it. It's just a mathematical thing. That's why I was telling you guys that it's cool that you try to deep in this type of studies. And then we can just go there. When you are plussing back the light, we can just go, let's make it more green, the light, more blue. Why I'm showing that to you guys? Because we can manipulate everything. We can manipulate everything with simple operations. You know what I'm saying? So try to, when you're doing your studies, try to think as like, oh man, we need to find a solution for that. So what if I render a little bit more in a neutral color and then I put the colors in Nuke, right? That's part of the workflow as well for you. Use this in your favor as well, right? Like, so.
If I may,
Yeah.
I think that visual effects professionals, in my opinion, as professional, almost considered like an engineer. Like, why? Because if you want to go that extra level, you have to think of your final image as a process that you can control at any given key point. If you don't think it like that as a professional, delivering shots for a client, everything is gonna be very expensive then. Because any micro change, oh, I need to go back to lighting. Oh,
Yeah.
I need to go back to this. Oh, but if that's what Webb is trying to give you as a tip. But if you think this as a process that you can later manipulate, you are going to be efficient, you're going to add a lot of value to your team members, and of course, finally, to your client. And those efficiencies, now more than ever in the industry, we have to put attention.
Yeah, and it's node-based, right? Remember what I mentioned to you guys in the beginning of the presentation, just to close and really make the link with everything? Everything in Boxel is walking to the node-based setup. What I mean by that, in this season 3, we still working our renders, they were all in Maya. But in season 4, that we are here bragging to you guys, praying for you guys to go there and watch season 4, we move everything to node-based. So now in Boxel, the entire pipeline is node-based. And what I mean by that, Nuke, as you can see, I just show you now what a node-based is capable to do in comp. But imagine that you can have node-based. I just got a random example here, okay? Because we cannot show anything for season 4 for you guys. But imagine you can do your lighting now with Katana as a node base in your lighting scene. So you can organize your scene to have the shaders in the scene, the lightings in the scene, just go there, load your Alembic with a different version. Because imagine, bear with me here, I don't know if you guys already work with Maya, but version 1, you love version 1, but believe me, version 1 rarely make it. Rarely. So then you go there and you take your scene and you put your textures and your shader, and then your animator come to you and say, no, but I have version 2. And then you are in Maya. Then you have to relink all the textures, you know what I'm saying? So then it's a pain in the ass, right? Nobody wants to do that, redoing work, right? But if you are using like softwares like Katana, Houdini, you can have all your Alembic here, all your animation baked here, and your look dev process, because it's node-based, is separate from that mesh. It's completely separate. So then you just receive new animation, boom, all the assignments of the shader, everything, the lighting setup will already be stored there, ready to you to use. So Boxel just, for now, like since the beginning of season 4, we changed our entire pipeline, or couple shows in Katana, couple shows in Houdini. Okay, guys? So with that, I think I'm on time.
Yes.
I think I'm on time. Hopefully I did not make too long and too boring for you guys, you know? And that's what I had prepared for you guys here, and I think it's fair to assume that we're gonna leave a fair amount of time for people question.
If you have any questions.
If you have any questions, okay?
Yes, please. Yes.
All right, wait a moment.
I think we have a mic. Is Chris around with our mic? All right, how about this? I got a mic. We'll use my mic.
Yeah, so you got, please just hand your hand and he will bring the mic for you.
At the box. How about this in the meantime?
All right, hi, great presentation. If something is really difficult, like the feet, can you just like, instead of pan from the feet all the way up, just start at the knees? Like that would like cut out some time because you have not a lot of time? Like, can you do that or?
Yeah. Well, we can, but unfortunately it's not the VFX house that decides that. You know, like who decides that is normally like the showrunner. We need to get their approval because the shot was already planned with an intention, right? Like with a certain amount of time. When they lock a cut, imagine with me, right? You have your editing and you lock that editing. So if you're not gonna show the feet anymore, then we need to compensate that timing, right? So then it's like, oh, so then we have to make a little longer that part of the shot in order to go. So we can do it, but needs to be discussed with the showrunners and get the approval. Unfortunately, it's not the way that we want, right? But yes, that's a good question. But we aim for let's fix the feet.
but in this show, just to be fair, if we really were running into an issue, we were a dial number away from getting in front of the showrunners and can we do, instead of doing a tilt up, can we do a pull back from the waist up? And they will say, yeah, let's change this shot. So yeah, they work with us, but this particular shot was very specific that they wanted it to start like that.
They wanted to start because actually this is the review of the creature. This is the first shot that revealed the creatures.
If you watch season 3, this is when Doomsday comes from space, lands on the actual cavern, a barn, and then comes out of the smoke, and it's a reveal. So it was very important to deal with that shot.
Yeah. Cool. Next question. Oh, there is somebody there. Apology.
Oh yeah, this does work. Okay. So I made the transition to a node-based system when I worked on transformers in 2012, I believe. I forget though, I wanted to ask you guys, roughly how much time has it saved you doing the transition over, and what program were you using for compositing before?
Yeah, how much time it took us? Oh, sorry, you have to repeat the question, right? For who is...
People online, make sure say this. Saving time doing a node-based comp system. What did you use before that?
What I used before that?
Is that
Yeah.
Maya.
Yes.
Roughly how much time do you think it's shaved off?
Yeah.
Switching over.
Yeah, the time saving going into a node-based comp
Oh,
system.
to a
like
node base, I would say minimum the double. You can have the double of the productivity when you are doing node base, because in node base, for example, right now I can assign the similar shots to the same artist in just one script. So instead of having 4 different Maya files and you have to manage in between them, manage the render layers, the same name and stuff, you just have one Katana file that you import the 4 shots in the same one. So of course I don't have the science to give you the science number, but I can tell you that it's 2 times faster to get a sequence light.
And additionally to that, specifically node-based for lighting and shading, another very important thing that it's going to tackle is consistency. What happens is when you have not a node base, but you're giving the same lighting rig setup for different artists in Maya, for example, and an artist tweaks something differently in one shot that it's the same sequence, you're going to see jumps in the lighting of that animation sequence. So using a node-based system like Katana or even Houdini will immediately will give you consistency as well. So that's also not only efficiency but consistency. That's very important.
Cool? That answered the question?
Maya.
Oh, Maya. We were all Maya and we moved to Houdini, and now we are finishing the process to move to Katana as well. So we have two basically main softwares for render right now. It's Katana and Houdini.
And when we were really crazy with not using nodes in that moment, we were using actually Modo for that animation project that I was telling you about. And we had to invest in custom programmers to build a custom gizmo for lighting. So again, you don't have to invest in that. You don't have to be as heavily in investing in custom tools. So if Maya and Modo that were not necessarily as Houdini or Katana node based.
Yeah, because for example, even digital domain, right? Like I worked a couple years in digital domain, and they still use Maya, but they have basically their Maya is not the Maya that you have access. It's a completely different Maya. You know, that's what I'm trying to say to you is like, if you are still not in node base, you really are dependent of some developer doing scripts and doing stuff to help you. Like, if you go for a node base, the node base becomes the pipeline. Honestly speaking, I will give you one example for Houdini. And sorry if I'm allocated that. We do have time, guys. We're gonna answer all the questions. But I want to allocate that in that topic. It's very important because the software ends up becoming the pipeline. Houdini, for example, become the pipeline because it's all node based, it's all clear, right? Like, so it's all there. So in theory, you just need somebody that needs how to operate Houdini, and then you're good, you know? But when you are doing that in Maya, the guy just not need to know Maya. He needs to know, oh, I have to that script mix with that script, and then I have to run another script to load the most updated alembics, you know what I'm saying? And then, oh, but wait a moment, this shader didn't apply. Oh, but I don't know how to go there and apply manually. So if you go there and apply manually, you break the pipeline. You see those small details that you said that you have experience already. So I think you can relate to this. You can connect nicely with what I'm referring to. The software ends up becoming the pipeline. Mm-hmm. Okay? Thank you. Next.
Just wondering, you mentioned, of course, you have the production models and then the concept models. Are they done by the same team or individual people, or are they done by different individual teams of people?
It's different people.
Yeah.
So for example, if in the case of Doomsday, Carlos Pico, who is our head of modeling, he handled the ZBrush for concept. So he's basically just sculpting and playing with the creature, and then sending STLs 3D printing department. We should have brought a Doomsday.
Yeah.
We 3D print the character, and so our creative director can see it, and that's a different team because that's very rapid prototyping, as Webb was saying. Then from that team, it could be the same. Don't get me wrong. We at Boxel decide to split it just because of the speed of delivery. If we had more time, maybe the same artist can handle both tasks, but we didn't have time. So we need Carlos Pico to be released and then come up with the transition of Doomsday Level 2 and the different transformations that Webb was describing. So when he's doing that concept work, another technical modeler is doing the rotopo and putting the topology on the character, and then working with the rigger so we have the sufficient topology and the sufficient loop, so when they're putting the bones, everything deforms correctly.
Yeah,
So
it's different challenges, you know what I'm saying? It's different challenge. One challenge is speed, right? The guy needs to, the concept sculpture, he needs to be speedy, right? Like, and needs to look nice, right? Not perfect, but needs to look nice. But when we go to the production, is a person that's a little more, how can I say, a little bit more worried about topology, not much worried about like other details, if the proportions are right, if the proportions are wrong.
Correct.
It's not his. That's why we split, because we get the best of both worlds, right? We have one person that's more detail oriented to make more technical choices, and then another one that's more artistic and more freedom and just to go there and make it work.
And
right?
if I may, you're going to start seeing really, really, really amazing technology out there, and shout out to those programmers that are doing our work easier, specifically talking about retopology or auto topology systems that are coming out there. They're coming out like you have your ZBrush model, all dense, the topology doesn't make any sense, and then you run tools in tools like Maya or Modo, it does the topology for you. That's great. However, that artist that we're talking about understands muscle flow topology and works with the rigger. If you rely a lot on the muscle system, jiggle deformers, skin displacement, and let the computer do whatever, you have less control. We've been trained by old school people, like shout out to David Schwab, that he was a great consultant for Boxel as his animator supervisor for the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and he helped us, and he was the one that told us, hey guys, not everything has to be a simulation. If you have good topology, you're having good communication with the rigger, you can do a lot of secondary animation with the animator if the flow of the polygons is in the correct position. So that's, again, if you're learning, you're a student, learn both like artistic and technical, but in our case, we tend to divide.
Yeah. Welcome.
For the budget for a piece, I'm not going to ask you what the budget is, but when you're working on a show, do they say, okay, you have this budget for this episode or this budget for this season, you have to get us all these shots with this thing? Or if you say, oh, we wanted to add some explosions, or this took some more time, it's going to be a little bit more, like, how does that work? Do you have to like meet what you said you were going to, you meet the budget that you were given? Or if things take longer, or they add more explosions, or they say, oh, we wanted to zoom in more and add more, like, is there budget creep basically? Or
Yeah.
how does that affect your work?
That's funny.
flow?
That's funny. You know, let me tell you one joke. Never leave a VFX supervisor control the budget.
That's the most honest question.
That's what I would say, that because that's when the fights happen, right? Because me as a VFX supervisor, no, let's put some explosion there. Why not? You know, so no, let's put some blood coming out. No,
Yeah.
but wait a moment, and then production comes
I think
up.
that's more like in my realm, because I really want to be honest. Like, that's Webb is saying the right reason, but I'm gonna answer your question. There's a reality, and we have to be honest and grounded here. There's a time and there's a budget. There's different layers of product. In the case of Superman Lois, it's the most honest VFX producer and team that I've worked. And what they say they have. And we try to stretch the budget to the limit. So what happens then when we need additional shots? We talk with the showrunners and tell them, hey, we can do these shots for this episode, but let's have a lighter episode on episode 3 so we can compensate for what we're going to spend on episode 3, we'll spend it in episode 1. That's a discussion that really happens. A miracle can happen. What's a miracle? A miracle could be that the showrunner really wants a sequence, really wants a effect. The network says, you know what, let's give it to them, and then try to find savings from other departments and figure out if they can pass it on to the VFX department. But there's a reality here. We have to be responsible, and we have to be professional, because at the end of the day, this is a business. And when you're working with a company, this is the way that I see it. Superman Lois is a company that needs to be profitable. In order to be profitable, you need to be mindful of what you're spending, because at the end of the day, you're going to put a product on screen that has to recoup its money. You can't just be spending like crazy. So the way that it regularly works is exactly as I told you. They have a budget, and we need to try to work within the confinements of that budget. There are contingencies, and that's specifically, in my experience, in TV series or feature for TV. Features are the same, but they have a bigger budget because they have more time. They are going to allow themselves to give more revisions to the shot. It's not going to be ready until it's ready, but it's going to come to a point where a grown-up in the room is going to say, we have spent too much, and we need to figure this out. But that's not
the VFX supervisor.
That's not the
Cannot be that one.
So it's again, as professionals, guys, we should care. We should care, because if the movie is successful because it was contained within the budget, most probably another one will get made. But if the movie is overspent because just of ego things or because of carelessness, most probably another movie is not going to get made, and that means that less budget is going to be spent, because at the end of the day, this is the entertainment business. It's a business. It needs to be profitable, and we're all part of that chain. So that's the way that it works. Again, it's a gray area, right, where there's negotiations that happen in the middle, but that's what it happens. That's what happens in reality.
Cool.
You mentioned that you did lighting in Houdini and Katana, and I was just wondering, like, did you prefer one program over the other? And also, what was the biggest challenge on this particular production for you?
Yeah, the biggest challenge on this production here was like the really working, divide the shots in the way that we could keep the consistency. You know, that was the real challenge, and that's when opened our eyes to go for the node base, because the consistency was really hard on us. Oh yeah, that's exactly what opened our eyes for Katana and Houdini. Another challenging for us in this show was the effects were done in Houdini, but the beauty renders, they were done in Maya, and then there is a scale issue as well. When we move in between softwares, there is a scale, all sort of problems with scale, motion blur, you know, all these kind of complications for us, you know. So these open up our eyes to really, we have two routes to do. Or we go to the route of, okay, we hire a technical team to take the original Maya and completely change Maya, doing like studio proprietary tools, which was never our intention, honestly. Or we had to move it, you know. And trying to go for your second part of the question is like, it took the challenge to move a lighter from Maya to Houdini or Katana. Is never easy, you know what I'm saying? It's never easy because people are used to do things in certain workflows, you know what I'm saying? I would be not fair if I said to you guys, no, that was easy, you know, that was not easy. And that is, again, that is the trusting process, you know. We have a very cool thing in Boxel, and that's why I love work in Boxel, is all the supervisors and all the lead people, they are people that came from the box. We really value people that know how to do stuff. So I was the first one to open up Houdini and deliver a shot in Houdini in the studio. I'm really proud to say that, because everybody that follow under my team, they will say, no, well, he did it, you know what I'm saying? So then I can do it. You know what I'm saying? And the katana process is the same. I am the one that going there, finishing one shot and show, see guys, we can do it. And then it's a motivation process, and then becomes more like a people process instead of software. Because software, at the end of the day, we gonna learn the software. It doesn't, if you spend like 2 weeks sitting in front of the software, believe it or not, you're gonna learn that software if you use every day, right? So it's just a matter to adapt and more like a people challenging instead of really a software challenging. But it's a great question, and that's, I think, answers what motivates us to really move for a
and on top, just to, you said, what was the biggest challenge in this show that had to do with pipeline? This is a very dynamic show, for lack of a better word, meaning that we never work out of a lock edit. That concept does not exist, well, did not exist. This show was its last season, season 4. That it's a beauty and a curse, because it's very dynamic. But one of the big challenges, specifically for the animation team, is that biting into the handles. Oh, can we add an extra 10 frames for that shot because we need a little bit more momentum, because some of them were animated shots. But we said that it's locked edit. Oh, guys, if we just add an extra second, it would be much, much better. And because we're all passionate about it, and then Webb is throwing fire at but at the delivery week, come on. And those were the challenges, because we were literally adding shots, not joking, we were adding shots 3 days prior delivering an episode. And it was like, Andres, we have to render and composite the shot. But it's going to be great, Webb. Don't worry about it. and that was a challenge, really controlling the passion of the team and having to be so dynamic on the cut.
Yeah. Yep, next question.
Hey, I want to ask, do you guys use any AI to assist in rendering or for the motion in the film?
We cannot comment on that. I'm just joking.
No,
yes, we can
no,
comment.
we don't talk about that, my
we
friend.
don't talk
I'm just
about
kidding.
that.
I'm just kidding.
No, on the contrary.
No.
Again, but please, we would try to keep it at a certain, we do. At Boxel Studios, from its foundation, as Webb is saying, most of the founders and principal operators of the facility are engineers as background. And they operate the box. Most of them understand. And in our mindset is technology will forever continue to evolve. It's like me saying to Ford, no, don't use robots to build your car. You have to use human labor for everything. And to answer your question, AI, we think it's going to be an important tool to embrace as a studio. So we do use AI. We're using AI specifically for repetitive processes. We are using now at the facility custom tools to auto-roto, auto-key, auto-C depth on some of our plates, and that's accelerating the process. Yes, we are using some sort of AI to enhance renders. But at the moment, Boxel is staying away from generative AI because because of the type of clients that we deal with. If you're using tools like, I don't want to name it because we're streaming this, and I don't want to encourage no one to not use these tools, because I want to encourage people to use the tools for personal use and creative inspiration. I think those are great, but there's an ethical aspect of things where you need to be able to guarantee to your customer that the renders that you're providing to them are created by the studio, and that you can release the chain of rights. Yeah. So in that sense, anything that we cannot guarantee to our clients that we own, creatively speaking, we don't use. Yeah. We don't want our clients to be sued. Yeah. We don't want to be sued, and we don't want an artist to say, hey, that looks a lot of my artwork, and because I just prompted to do a render. So there's a clear line between AI for generative content, like generating creative visually content, and AI to automate processes. Yes, we are using AI to automate processes. For example, at the studio, we're shout out to the people at Wonder Dynamics, recently acquired by Autodesk, season for Superman Lois. When you see that, we used a lot of machine learning motion capture.
Motion capture without suit.
With the suit. All of the green screen and relighting on the actors was done with AI to basically relight physical plates with footage virtualization. So yes, we are true believers that technology will evolve and new tools will come out. So short answer, we're using it, but we are differentiating generative AI from AI that accelerates and automates processes.
Make sense? Welcome.
Okay, sorry. I am I'm basically a contract worker, and right now my main client is a small from advertising firm in St. Louis, Missouri. They contracted me to model a bunch of clay pigeons for one of their clients' website, and basically I spent a couple months working with them to get all the models right, to texture it and get it on the website, and now the client has gotten back to them saying that they have a bunch of changes that they need to make, and so my main thing is I have to. It's sort of the drawbacks of what you were talking about. I have to go back through and make the changes at the modeling stage and then push that back onto the texturing stage and then export that to the specific format that the website needs to use, and I have to do that for all 35 of them. And that's the only thing that's keeping the website from being up. And this is a company that's very patient. But if this was an industrial thing, you can't really. Are there any sort of pipeline changes that you would implement to keep the entire project from not being complete because one artist needs to sort of implement a bunch of changes?
So I think if I understood correctly, you have a client that hired you to do some models, about 35 of them, and then for the project to be delivered, they ask you to do a lot of changes on them. So I don't know if I'm getting the question correctly, but I'm going to try to do my best to understand where you're heading with this question. And I'll take the time as students and professionals understand that you're working and this is a business. And for some reason, we are not trained. We as engineers or creatives don't understand legal language, contracts. So to answer your question, when you were hired to do 35 models, I highly suggest to get a scope of work and a contract where they can say, hey, you're gonna pay me to do this 35 models at this stage. And you have no more than 48 hours to give me feedback and notes if the model was delivered incorrectly for your needs as an advertisement company. If the client in 48 hours does not give you any notes, your contract should say, we are considering this final and closed. If any more changes would need to be done to the models, that will consider a purchase or like a change order. You need to charge more because in the case of you as an individual, they don't have a pipeline or a industrialized process. That's a lot of work on you by yourself, and you have to go back and do everything again, texture and do the change and do the model. That's a lot of hours, and it's unfair for that company to ask for that many changes on a delivery and not pay for the work that you have delivered early. So I think that's again, I think it's important for the school when we're creating professionals to also put a topic in this sense so we can be protected as artists, because I love artist souls. We are amazing souls, to be honest. We are people that just want to do great work, want to work in the industry, but sometimes we go out there to the industry, we're completely unprotected and take advantage of. But that's a different topic, that's a different stuff. So one, yes, follow web tips on getting your processes streamlined. But if you're an individual and you're doing everything manual, that's fair. That's okay. You're a freelancer. But when you're delivering the work, just be protected with your client in that sense. Hopefully I'm answering the question.
Yeah, sorry, I should have been a little bit clearer. They're bringing me back on to do those changes. So I'm on a new contract to complete those changes. But the company needs, those models to be done so that they can move on to the website. So I'm trying to save them as much time as possible.
Perfect.
And try to do the work as quickly as possible. So I was asking if you would recommend, if you would have maybe implemented a node-based system in the first round.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. If that's what Web is saying, if you want to add as much value as possible in that process, then we are fans of Houdini, so definitely go with Houdini. Set up yourself a mini pipeline where you have your model, your textures, your node-based system, so when they change something, immediately you can go ahead and do it.
Alrighty.
Any other questions?
Think we good?
All right. I think we will wrap that up. Want to thank once again to our great guests here, Wev and Andres. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Amazing presentation. And send our thanks back to the team at Boxel. Appreciate sharing all this amazing work with us. And also want to thank the VES for helping make this event happen, as well as Dell. If you want to check out more of our Dell-sponsored events, follow us on Instagram at Noman_school. And if you want to learn more about the school itself, what Noman can do for you, head to the website at noman.edu. We'd love to connect with you. So until the next event, thank you. See you then. Thanks for joining us. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.